tool for remote viewing is this. This and this. That's the body, mind, brain system is the tool that we use. It's not a piece of technology that we build, that the technologists and scientists are used to. That's their diagnostic tools, how they probe the universe. We probe the universe with our tool, this one. Okay? And so it's the same tool that developed those tools that they use to probe the universe with. This is the font. That's why we call it the matrix. The collective unconscious is a limiting term. The matrix is a better term because it's the font from which all form arises, including technology. I have my own ethics. What my students and what my team does as individuals, that's up to them. I have my own ethics, my own ethical standards. I think they're good ones, but they may be wrong. I don't know in terms of right or wrong. I will not, for instance, violate the sanctity of somebody's mind and thoughts. I don't even remote view my wife's mind. I don't think that's fair. Just because one has the skill to do something, I don't believe, personally, right or wrong, one has the right to do it. Just because you have a specialized skill doesn't give you the right to violate someone's privacy. So I won't do that, but I do draw the line with murderers and terrorists. Now someone might say, what's the difference? Well, at some level there's probably no difference, but I'll take the hit. Okay? I don't use my skills to violate the privacy, the sanctity of someone's thoughts, unless I'm asked to diagnose an illness, a psychosomatic illness, by that person themselves. Ed, I can't sleep, I don't know what's wrong with me, can you please help me? It might be, I'm losing my mind or whatever. Well, you must be a remote viewer. No, just kidding. I'm losing my mind. If I asked the plea for help, then I would go and target that particular person's malady. But other than that, ethically speaking, I'm not going to do it. In the military, now I've changed a lot over the years. I've really changed, because when I was a military officer, hey, no problem. Just point out, who do you want, who should die, go to the State Department. Who's our enemy today? Those guys. Okay, turn your mind over there and let's kill as many of those guys as we can. That's the immature soldier, you know, habituated, our culture. I didn't know any better, so I did that. Now I know a little bit more, and I'm a little bit more mature. Not much, but a little bit more, and I don't do what I used to do. How far in the future can we go as a remote viewer? We're not going anywhere. We're turning our mind's attention, we're turning our attention to a target. Unconscious attention follows. It's like a joystick here. We turn our touch screen operation on the page, the unconscious attention goes to wherever we turn it to. Okay? We turn it into the future, and the question is, how far can we go? The far has to be adjudged in terms of human concepts of time, standards of time. And that doesn't apply to the unconscious, so I don't know how to answer the question. I don't know how far we can turn our attention to. I don't even know what far means, honestly, in terms of the collective unconscious and what we do, in terms of time. Far implies distance. Time implies something else, a temporal arena. I think there's a mismatch there dimensionally. So I think the question itself is a misnomer. What we can do as remote viewers is see events that are, the larger the event in time, in the future, the larger the event, no matter how far it is, we can pick that up. If events are very large and they influence a lot of people, for instance, we can pick those events up thousands of years, I believe, thousands of years in the future. Okay? I think that we can do that. The reason we don't, as practicing professionals, don't turn a lot of attention to that is because there's no practical use right here on our watch, and so we just don't spend a lot of time in that area. And I think And how would you validate how far out you are, figuratively speaking, anyway? So we don't do it. We're not there a lot. Our attention wasn't turned that way. There aren't that many professional remote viewers in the world. I know most of them, and we weren't looking there. We were looking in other areas. You know, that's what we were doing, not there. Too. We're looking there now. We're looking at terrorism now. You know, we're looking at the next terrorist attack now, for what it's worth. But our attention has to be turned. It's a very precision tool. It's like a telescope. Where are you pointing this thing? If you're looking there at that star, you're not going to see this explosion over here. You're not going to see this quasar over here. You're not going to see this new planet over here because you're focused that way, regardless of how big that is. You're focused this way, here. We could have looked at catastrophic events, massive loss of life, events, next massive loss of life, North America, next. We would have been able to describe this event, but we would not have been able to know how far out in the future it was. We can't. Mind is outside of time. So we're not able to do that. We can see it, but we don't know how far away we are. It's like looking at a big mountain in the distance. You know, you can see it. It's easy. You can see it. You can keep going toward it and toward it, but you can't adjudge the distance. That's us. Is the military still using remote viewers? The Chinese military is, but the American military is not. The Israelis use psychics. They've had some very gifted psychics. I know this for a fact over the last 30 years. Very gifted psychics that they've gone to, both the Mossad and the line units, the Mossad particularly. But they're not remote viewers. They're psychics. The Chinese appear to be developing an operational team. A common question, a frequently asked question is, why did the U.S. government abandon the remote viewing program, especially after investing nominally $20 million in developing the model of the tool? And the answer to that question is this. This program, I've been involved in some very classified programs as a military intelligence officer, extremely classified, black programs. This particular program, that went under various names, ended up in the CIA's bailiwick as Stargate, but started out in the Army arena under other names, was so controversial. It was a hot potato. And nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole that was of star rank. Anybody with stars or destined to wear stars did not want anything to do with this program because it was experimental and hot. If something went wrong, you know, and the public found out that the U.S. military was using psychics to gain intelligence and that you were the general that was associated with that, or the colonel, there goes your star. That's why. That's why it was abandoned, because it jeopardized, it placed in jeopardy the careers of a lot of officers, number one. Number two, there is another reason why it was abandoned. There were two officers, one a civilian intelligence official and the other an Army general, that did see this as an end-all. And they were actually responsible for sending this down. An Army general and a civilian scientist who were briefed on the remote viewing program went overboard with this. They they lost their balance in terms of what this was. They saw it as a sole source of intelligence, a source of intelligence that could gain insight into any problem and solve any intelligence problem. And we know, as intelligence officers, career officers, that you never go with only one source of intelligence. You go with three. You want three different sources, three different systems to tell you the same thing before you act on the information. These two officials they saw this as the goose that laid the golden egg in terms of intelligence, and wanted to act on only the remote viewing team's intelligence, and that was wrong. And in fact, in instances where our data was wrong, they were presenting it as correct. When we told them we don't know if we're right or not, we told these officials we don't know if we're 100% correct. They presented the data as being 100% correct. That took us down. Took us down. Have we ever remote viewed Area 51? You can do that.
I asked if you've ever done it.
Have I ever done it? I don't have to. Friends that work there. Why should I remote view it? I just ask them, hey, what's going on? Oh, that's neat. But I would suggest you taking an overhead photo of the area. Take an overhead photo of the area, and there are some. It doesn't matter what year, do that. And begin by circling in the photo, or take a Xerox copy of a photograph. Circle, in turn, what specific things you're interested in. What secret structures or whatever you're interested. Put a circle there, and learning what you've learned today, give it a name, just give it a target name. And then turn your attention only to that rather than the entire Area 51, because you'll have more data than you can ever digest, right? You won't be able to do anything with the data. So take it in bite-sized pieces. This structure here, this funny-looking structure, under it, if it has an underground component, turn your attention to that, spend a couple of weeks there, then go on to the next structure using a different photograph. Do it systematically, all right? Do it that way, and then you'll answer your own questions. And pool your talents with other people using what you've learned here. Build your skills up, and then pool your talents. Our data over the last 19 years of my work indicates that there's at least one group of extraterrestrial intelligences that are aware of us and monitoring us, but they are so far, if you use the term evolution, they're so far ahead of us just in terms of technology. Technology even becomes a misnomer, you know, possibly not 100,000 years, but 100 million years ahead of us. It really serves no useful purpose to us Neanderthals or Cro-Magnons to look at them, to do anything with them. What utility is that? Yep, they're there. Now let's go back to work. That's it. It'd be like, 2001 Space Odyssey, the chimps and the monolith. What do you do with it? That's what we are relative to them, as far as we're concerned, that idea. Do they know that we know? Yes, they do. They know that some of us remote viewers are looking at them. They know that we know about them. But so has that changed the way their attitude toward us? If attitude is even a concept anymore, I don't know. I have led expeditions of very wonderful scientists from the Skunk Works, from the Stanford Linear Accelerator, the head of the U.S. Space Station Life Support Team, some of the best scientists in this country. I have been the team leader out in the desert using our remote viewing data to take this team out in the desert and make measurements of hot zones where UFOs come and go. Okay? And we've got to validate the existence of the phenomenon. For me and for them, they wanted to know how these toys work so they could reverse engineer them. But that's as far as we've gone in terms of really getting our teeth into the UFO problem. And that's good. It was adventurous enough for me. But that's as far as we went. I could be lying, of course, but I don't lie. Yeah, that's about as far as we really got. That's all that I really have direct exposure to and knowledge.